Now at 6 and streaming on CrossroadsToday.com, Victoria police arrest a murder suspect in the death of Jesus Sanchez Nino. Victoria Regional Airport will soon get millions of dollars in grants to begin improvement projects. And the state Senate comes up with a new plan to lower property taxes.
Things are pretty certain that Tropical Storm Brett will be headed toward the Caribbean. There is Brett. Here's where it's going to go. And after it gets in the Caribbean, will it slow down or will it continue going? That's the big question. I'll have that for you coming up.
And in sports, local gymnasts are in first and second place after prelims. We see how they do in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 6. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker. Karina Garcia has the night off. Monday night, just before 7:30, Victoria police officers were in the 600 block of East 1 Lynn Street, where they found a 67-year-old man dead in the yard. He's identified as Jesus Sanchez Nino. Police say he was beaten. Earlier that day, around 6:30 p.m., authorities arrested 38-year-old Alexandro Reyes Jr. in the 100 block of West 1 Lynn Street. It was a welfare check. Officers ended up arresting Reyes on charges of public intoxication. Reyes was already in custody when authorities added the murder charges in the death of Sanchez Nino. Reyes being held without bond. The city of Seadrift is welcoming a new chief of police. 25 News Now reporter Adarius McCormick live in Seadrift with the story. Adarius?
Police department invited us here to meet their new chief, Marie Carizales. Carizales stepped in as interim chief back in May while former chief Leonard Berma was suspended. Leonard Berma was fired on June 14th due to proven sexual assault. In an investigation, they found evidence of Bermia sexually harassing two subordinate employees. Though he admitted to the conduct, Bermia said the actions were consensual. However, there was no evidence of consent in the investigation. Back in April, some community members wanted to defund Seadrift PD. However, Marie Carizales is not here today. She happened to be sick and she just couldn't make it in. I talked to her on the phone. She said she really wanted to be here. However, she is here in spirit. We got a cute little picture of her, and she says she is so happy to be in this position, and we'll talk to her later about what she plans to do here. Reporting live in Seadrift, I'm Adarius McCormick, KAVU TV, 25 News Now.
Adarius, thank you so much. Victoria Regional Airport will soon get about $40 million in grant money to begin some improvement projects. Leaders at the airport say United Airlines is doing well at Victoria Regional and some infrastructure improvements are needed. The airport has a number of projects in the works.
We moved to the south side area of the airport where we have three taxiways that intersect it's a little confusing. We're going to fix the geometry on that area, and then eventually we move to the reconstruction of the runway.
The taxiway and runway project should start within the next year. The airport trying to get additional grants for a new terminal. Here's your viewer poll this evening. Scan the QR code on your screen to vote now. Here's the question. How often do you fly out of Victoria Regional Airport? Once a year, twice a year, never, or several times a year? Let's look at the numbers. 9% of you say once a year, 3% twice a year, 84% never, and 4% several times a year. We thank you for voting, and we want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part, and we'll have an update on 25 News Now at 10. ERCOT asking Texans to use less energy between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. That's right now. This as the demand for power soars because high temperatures bake much of the state. ERCOT says enough power should be available, but an unusual number of power plants that use coal or natural gas have been forced offline. Wind turbines are also producing less power compared to past summers. ERCOT expects energy demand could set a record today for highest energy use set last July. The National Weather Service issues excessive heat warnings for 6 area counties. Victoria, Calhoun, and Goliad counties under excessive heat warnings until 7 o'clock tonight. The National Weather Service says heat index values up to 121 degrees were expected. Jackson County under an excessive heat warning until 8 o'clock tonight. The National Weather Service says heat index values there up to 117 degrees are expected. DeWitt and Lavaca counties under excessive heat warnings on 9 o'clock Wednesday night. The National Weather Service says maximum heat index values there will be between 105 and 118 degrees, and high temperatures between 100 and 112 degrees are expected. Now let's take a first look at your forecast. Here's First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Pettis. Mac, you got one eye on these high temperatures and one eye on the activity in the tropics.
Absolutely. You have to always keep one eye on the tropics after June 1st.
Right.
And of course, the heat is definitely with us. There is some semblance of a little change. Now, I want you to remember July the 3rd. That's obviously the day before July the 4th. But on that day, we're beginning to see a pattern change. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. But right now it's 95 and the heat index is at 111. This is the time we just need to take it easy. Once the sun goes down, it'll get a little better. But in terms of any significant change, no, we're going to stay in the hundreds for a few days. We'll have more on your details on your forecast and take a look at the tropics coming up in a moment. Don?
Mac, thank you. Goliad County now under a 90-day burn ban. Goliad County commissioners approved the ban Tuesday morning. All outdoor burning banned in the unincorporated area of the county. A violation of this order is a Class C misdemeanor punishable by a fine up to $500. Tens of millions of Americans dealing with severe weather, from extreme heat to tornadoes, and yes, keeping an eye on tropical conditions.
Over 37 million Americans from New Mexico to Louisiana are baking under extreme heat. Cities like Laredo, Del Rio, and Midland, Texas all breaking records this week well above 100 degrees. In southeast Mississippi, a tornado touching down in Moss Point.
Definitely a tornado came through here. I'm trying to get the M&M.
One twister trapping 8 people inside of this bank.
We had to break a window, go in and break some interior doors down to help the 8 individuals escape the bank.
Everybody got out safely, but in the town, at least 100 buildings have been damaged or destroyed. On Monday alone, 6 tornadoes were reported in Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. In the small town of Lewin, Mississippi, severe damage as well. A tornado bringing down trees and power lines. In Alabama, flash flood warnings after a foot of rain fell. In the tropics, a very early start to the Atlantic hurricane season. Tropical Storm Brett ties for the earliest ever to form so far east in the Atlantic. It's now on track to slam into St. Lucia possibly on Thursday. It's feeding off abnormally warm ocean temperatures in the Atlantic, temperatures that broke records in April and May. Behind Brett, there's another system that could become a storm named Cindy later this week. Experts say human-caused climate change has been warming the ocean for years and that they're alarmed at how unprecedented the current high ocean temperatures are for this time of the year. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
In Austin, the Texas Senate advanced a new bill Tuesday to cut property taxes for all land-owning Texans. The $12.7 billion proposal passed quickly in the Senate. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick called on the House to return to Austin to pass the proposal, which would provide targeted tax relief to Texas homeowners, send state dollars to school districts so they can cut their tax rates, and give more businesses a break on their franchise tax bills. A new poll shows 50% of Texas voters say Ken Paxton's impeachment is justified. KXAN reports the poll from the Texas Politics Project and the University of Texas at Austin showed 17% called the impeachment unjustified, while 33% either had no opinion about it or did not know enough to share their feelings. Among the GOP poll respondents, 31% said the Paxton impeachment was justified, 30% said it was not justified. An El Paso Uber driver fighting for his life after he was shot by his female passenger because she reportedly thought he was kidnapping her to Mexico. 48-year-old Phoebe Copas arrested and now facing charges of aggravated assault causing serious bodily injury. The investigation shows that 52-year-old Daniel Piedra Garcia from El Paso was driving Copas. Authorities say Copas thought she was being taken into Mexico and shot Piedra. He was critically wounded and remains hospitalized. Tens of thousands of East Texas residents still without power and others without food or water. The city of Winona has been without power for 5 days. They are just one of the many communities affected by the storms, but being in Smith County, they are not part of Governor Greg Abbott's disaster declaration. The city of Winona has opened a cooling center Monday to help those in the area. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. That way you're on our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. And stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 6, 3 Robb Elementary School students honored for calling 911 on the day of the mass shooting at their school. Also ahead, Mississippi deals with heavy rains, flooding, and tornado damage. From Robb Elementary School in Uvalde honored Monday for their heroic actions, dialing 911 during the shooting that killed 19 of their classmates and 2 teachers. They were honored by 911 for Kids, the national organization that works to make sure children know how and when to use 911. Mia Cirillo and Chloe Torres used their teacher's cell phone to call for help. Now, Chloe's best friend, Amerie Jo Garza, tried to call 911. She was honored, but she was also one of 19 students who died that day. Monday, storms in Mississippi left flooding and destruction, including massive damage left by a tornado in Moss Point. Officials say at least 100 structures were either damaged or destroyed. Downed trees and power lines have left roads blocked and people without electricity. 8 people were even trapped inside a bank, but they are all now safe. Now, tomorrow marks the official first day of summer, but parts of the U.S. are already baking under extreme heat. Now, extreme heat can be dangerous, even deadly, and there are things households can do right now to prepare.
Triple-digit temperatures putting a strain on power grids this week and adding to the fallout from storms in southeast states. Wednesday marks the official start of summer, but parts of the U.S. have already felt the swelter. And when temperatures soar near or above 100 degrees, heat isn't just an inconvenience, it can be deadly.
Heat stroke is actually when a person can become unconscious, and if they do not get medical attention immediately, they could unfortunately die.
Kimberly McMahon of the National Weather Service says the time to prepare is before temperatures soar.
Making sure that your air conditioning is in proper working order, make sure that you have plenty of water, be it bottled water, and access to water in case you do have a power outage when there is extreme heat. But you can also look for locations to be your backup plan.
That backup plan in case of a power outage at home, McMahon says, means identifying a cooling center or a public space with air conditioning like a mall or library. And planning is especially key if someone in your household is particularly vulnerable to extreme temperatures.
There are those who are more susceptible to heat, such as children, older adults, those who are working outdoors, those with chronic illnesses or on certain medications.
Well, that's the heat that we've been dealing with, and we're going to be with it for quite some time. In fact, probably another 10 days. I'm giving you the date of July the 3rd. I see a pattern change on some of the computer models, and I'm hoping that we do get a pattern change that get us out of this incredible heat. Our high today was 98, our overnight low only 81 degrees, so you can say both of them are above our average for this time of year. It's been as hot as 101. That was only a year ago. Coming up, we'll be talking about the tropics and Brett. All that coming up in a moment. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Here are the high temperatures that occurred today. These are the observed highs. 98 for us, 104 in San Antonio, and 112 in Del Rio. They actually set a new date. Actually, I believe that was 113. And so record-breaking temperatures. And notice, it's only Texas. It goes up here close to Oklahoma, it comes back down, and I don't know. Something tells me we're in trouble here. Here are your forecast highs for tomorrow. So we're still expecting to go up a degree here for us, and everybody else stays in the triple digits. There's not a lot of relief in sight until this pattern changes. You saw that big dome of high pressure on top of us. That has to move, or something has to come to replace it, and that, I believe, is going to be July the 3rd. So we'll have more on that in a moment. There's the Crossroads, only one thunder shower that popped up late this afternoon out near Kerrville and Rock Springs. It's a severe storm, but it will be collapsing once the sun goes down, and that should be the end of that. Heat advisories, well, they continue for all of us. Excessive heat warnings pretty much for our area as well, and it goes all the way up to the Texas border. There's that one thunderstorm that's occurring right about now in the hill country. So let's go to the tropics. This is Tropical Storm Brett. Brett is still together. It's holding on. It's got winds at 45 miles an hour, as you see right about there, and it continues going in that direction. Now you can see how all the computer models are very much in agreement, so we have consensus on its track. Behind Brett, we have this system, which is kind of falling apart, but still it's not well organized, but it is still expected to spin up as it moves into this warm water, and this would become Cindy. So let's see where Brett is going. Brett is going directly into the Lesser Antilles, as you see right about there. So we're talking about Thursday for St. Lucia, Martinique, Barbados, all of those countries as well. And then the interesting thing is it gets into the Mid-Caribbean. Anything in the Mid-Caribbean, ordinarily, I'd tell you, oh, we got to get ready for this. But the computer models are saying that the storm is going to fall apart. In other words, it's running into an aggressive shear, and so it's an inhospitable area for a hurricane to arrive. So most of the computer models have it falling apart right here. Now, the remnants would probably drift into Central America, but at this point in time, the chances of it coming into the Gulf are pretty slim. So we're just going to go with that for the time being. 82 will be the morning low in Port Lavaca. You get up to 94, at least the breeze is blowing. For our friends in Cuero, 79 the overnight low, and only getting up to 101 tomorrow as we continue with this unbelievable heat wave. Now, again, those of you who, whatever you've been doing up to now, keep doing that. A lot of that would include just taking it easy middle part of the day, getting the work done early or late, walking the dog late at night, all that, because the doggy's not having fun either, you know. But the heat index will continue right in the 115-degree mark all the way through this week. So I want you to write it down. July the 3rd, weather pattern change, hopefully some clouds and a big break. But it's not until then, and that's a good 10 days away. That's your 7-day forecast. Want to remind everybody we have a QR code. We'd love for you to scan this, put it on your cell phone, and take Crossroads today wherever you need to go. We'll toss it back to Don right now.
Mag, thank you. Sports Director Gino Perez is here. And I'll tell you what, generally speaking, Gino, it's going to be a hot time tonight at Riverside Stadium.
Yeah, generally it's hot, and generally the Generals have been hot as they are above 500 now. We'll see if they can jump to the 2 spot in the league coming up after the break. At the Crossroads, the Victoria Generals are only 1 game behind the top-ranked team and hoping to continue its 2-game win streak. Then Riverside Stadium is a hot one. Victoria Generals are also hot, which have won 5 of its last 6 games, coming off a 19-2 win on Sunday and a hard-fought 7-6 win last night. Head coach Michael Oros has talked about how resilient his guys have been this season, and they certainly were last night. Had a bit of a scare when Seguin put up 4 runs in the 8th inning to make it a 2-run game. With this recent hot streak, the Generals have found themselves in a tight race, now 9-8 on the year. They are 1 game back of first place, but in 4th overall as of now. The Cane Cutters and their rivals, the Brazos Valley Bombers, lead them by half a game. First overall, the Baton Rouge Rougarou. With them sitting just one game out of the standings, can't help but think of how they lost their first 3 games, all via walk-offs, something that head coach Michael Oro says he doesn't think he's ever seen before. Big opportunity ahead of them tonight as they take on the Cane Cutters in just a half a game behind, and that's who's getting it tonight, and they would be exactly what the doctor ordered. We will have highlights tonight at 10. And it's day 3 of the U.S. National Championships, and multiple local gymnasts are trying to bring home gold yet again. Earlier today, Callie Ganaway and Daisy Rickman competed in trampoline, and after the prelims, they are in spots 1 and 2. Rickman had a 0.5 point lead over Ganaway with a score of 59.37. The finals for trampoline and synchro will be tomorrow. The trampoline finals will be at 1:30 p.m. and synchro will be at 8:30 at night. And late last night, Lorelai Garza won a bronze medal in double mini. She took 3rd out of 71 girls in the nation. Another Victoria athlete that will also bring home a medal from yesterday's performance is Daisy Rickman, who is bringing home the silver after beating 64 other girls. The TCU Horned Frogs took on the team that knocked out the Texas Longhorns in Oral Roberts earlier today in Omaha for a win-or-go-home game. TCU took a commanding lead after the 5th inning, winning 6-1 and cruised to a victory. Now the Horned Frogs will play the Florida Gators. The 2 Reptiles will be battling it out tomorrow and need to win to move on to the College World Series. And in case you missed it, the United States took on our neighbors to the north, Canada, for the CONCACAF title. The United States scored first off a corner kick when Rena put it right in front of the head of Chris Richards as he heads it to the back of the net, giving the Americans a 1-0 lead just 12 minutes into the game. About 20 minutes later, the United States had a nice buildup. Once again, Rena dribbling up the pitch and finding 4-run Balogun, who strikes it true to make his first international goal in his career. These would be the only 2 goals of the game, and the United States wins the Nations League trophy for the 2nd straight year. That's your sports. Don, back to you.
All right, Gino, thank you. We're back in a moment. A 91-year-old New Yorker can't go to the ballpark, so the ballpark came to him. Finally tonight, 91-year-old New Yorker Ron Brown spent his life idolizing Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio, but he has not been able to make it down to Yankee Stadium since the early 2000s, so his sons brought baseball to him. Ron's 4 sons designed a Little League field in their backyard 4 years ago so he could continue to watch baseball. Sunday, his family hosted their first Father's Day Classic, an exhibition between 2 Little League teams. And for sure this way, Ron will be safe at home.
Well, you know what they say, if you build it, they will come.
They will come.
That's right. And they certainly did that day. That is really neat.
Field of Dreams in your backyard. How about that? That was
But we don't have to worry about rain at the old ballpark tonight, but the heat.
I tell you, my hat's off to all the Generals fans that are going out there watching a game. I was asking, how do they stay cool? And he says, well, what do you think?
Yeah, nice recording beverage. So.
A cold beverage and a fan to keep yourself cool if you're going to the game. Otherwise, folks, there's not a lot of change. We continue with the heat index being hovering at 110 to 115 and the high temperatures right about at 100. Now, again, I'll tell you again, and I'm very serious about this, July 3rd, I see a pattern change show up on the computer maps. And so with a little luck, I'm going to hope, Don, I'm going to bet you a Dr. Pepper that on July the 3rd, you're going to say, it's over.
Okay, mark the tape. Oh, we're anyway. All right, there you go. Gentlemen, thank you, and thanks for joining us. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. We'll see you tonight for 25 News Now at 10. Have a good one, everybody.